Good evening. Tonight we're going to have a look at yet another very rare radio, especially here in Australia, and I understand reasonably rare throughout the world anyway. I'm of course referring to this the Sony ICF-8900L. This radio came out in probably the late 1970s, up to around about 1980. And was more than likely targeted towards the European market than anywhere else, as you'll see by the dial. But let's have a quick look at it anyway. Over here we've got a dial light switch. We've got your main on-off power switch here, automatic frequency control for your FM here, function switch that switches between radio and phono. There's an input on the back of the radio that you can connect a phono to, slider volume control, slider bass and slider treble control. Here we've got a very large speaker, and as a result this radio has exceptional audio. Now on the dial here you'll see you've got your standard FM, 88 to 108 megahertz, and we'll skip shortwave for a second. We've got long wave, and it goes from what did I say, around about 150 kilohertz to about say 280 or and above kilohertz. Your standard broadcast band is around about 520 kilohertz to just above 1600 kilohertz there. And now to get to the shortwave band, it's been split up into three. You'll notice one band here, shortwave 1, goes from basically 7 megahertz to 18 megahertz, or just above of course, whereas shortwave 2 is actually a band spread of the 19 metre band, so from just below 15 megahertz to about 15.7 megahertz. And shortwave 3 is actually band spread of the 49 metre band, which is around about say 5.7 to about 6.5 megahertz. So it's a rather unusual arrangement there. Quite a colourful dial, and of course down there, Sika Main, Japan. Above the radio you'll see your wave change switching here, FM, shortwave 1, 2, 3, medium wave and long wave, and of course a telescopic antenna, and a fairly substantial and handy carrying handle there. On this side of the radio you've got a tuning knob, and on the back of the radio you've got the details there of the radio. As soon as the camera focuses you'll get some idea of the model number and everything like that. You've got external antenna connections here. You've got switching here between battery and AC. Your AC input here. Down here you've got your AC selector from 110 volt, 220 volt and 240 volt. Here there's your input for your phono, and also I think you can record out as well on that using that plug there. Here you've got your main battery compartment. It's also got a compartment in there for the power lead, and on all these radios I've noticed you've got different colour on the battery compartment, so I don't know what was going on there. You'll notice here there's a little bit of distortion in the plastic, and I've noticed this on a few of these radios that have been featured on the internet. So perhaps the plastic that Sony used in the day was a little bit unstable and was tended to warp, or perhaps the radio was sited on a windowsill that had direct sunlight onto it. Who knows? But anyway, it doesn't really detract that much from the radio at all. Over here you've got a output for your earphone. So there we go, just back onto the front there. and we're actually listening to Radio New Zealand International there on around about 7.425 megahertz, and noisy signal because of my neighbour's plasma TVs, but nonetheless it's quite a steady signal there from RNZI. Fairly straightforward to change bands, and as I said earlier, a very, very good audio in this radio, and seems to be quite sensitive. I noticed, I think it's got a fairly large ferrite rod AM antenna in there, and so its performance on the AM band is quite remarkable. Probably not to the same extent as the General Electric Super Radio 1 or 2, but nonetheless pretty good. Okay, well there we go. There's a brief look at the Sony ICF-8900L, a rare receiver by all accounts, especially here in Australia. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's presentation, and we'll catch up again. Cheers for now.